You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Do you want to talk about the light or the candle?
the dancing, flickering flame, letting us know that there's some energy in here with us.
Yeah. Explain it to people that maybe don't understand.
I don't understand.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
I'll explain.
I don't know what's happening.
I totally understand.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. There's a strong
notice?
energy in here is bouncing the flame and pulling it up, and then it'll like steady, and then also it'll start like letting us know. There's also a lot of things that are happening right now that I'm not surprised we have some energy helping us out.
Have we I know we've talked about the house, obviously our house and the energy in the house, and
Have we? I know we've talked about it. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast. Probably
at some point, but
probably
our upstairs, I think we talked about it recently, how the thought of that it was just us upstairs. Just
we did talk about that
dimension.
on the podcast. Yeah, it's like I definitely think it's that sometimes, and also other times I do not think it's us. But it makes sense that when it's us, it's because it scared me.
How come you're always scared by, I guess I get scared by it too. I was going to say, how come you're scared by the energy of whatever? Sometimes it shows up as scary energy.
It's because I was taught that it was scary, and I'm not scared after. And I know like after I'm like, when I have the realization and I know what it is and the exciting, and then I'm like, okay, next time I'm going to be able to talk to him. I'm not going to be scared. And then it happens and I'm like, still scared. It always gets me in the moment. I haven't quite leveled up to where when it's happening in the moment, but I know it's perspective. I know it's only my fear making it scary. I know. But still, it's just something that it depends. Like there's also so many, I hear them up here so many times that now it's just like acknowledgement, and then
it's just like somebody lives upstairs.
and then I just go back to my business. So it doesn't scare me anymore. Unless I'm up here in the middle of the night at night and I feel like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, shit. And then it scares me.
Yeah.
So.
It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember the funniest time. You were at a build. The girls, two of the girls must have been at their mom's because it was just Stevie and Asher and I here. And I think they were young. Oh, you know what? It might have been. I think actually Gwen was in college. So Maddie was going in Salt Lake. Anyways.
Several years ago.
Yeah. They were still little enough, you know. And Stevie and I were hanging out in the front room. And every night trying to get Asher to go to bed. When you were out of town, he did not want to go to bed. It was a hassle. He comes up the stairs, doesn't want to go to bed. He'd usually end up sleeping with me because he was just like, he could not sleep when you were gone, which I understood because I was awake too, because I could not sleep when you were gone. And so the only way he could sleep is if he felt safe near me. So that's how it would usually happen. And a lot of times I had Stevie and Asher with me because it was like we would all just hunker down. And I was trying to get him to go to bed, and he actually went to bed. And Stevie and I were in the front room and watching something because neither of us could sleep. And we were talking, we're like, I can't believe he actually went to bed. Like that's a first. And then as we said that, we heard him like, don't come up the stairs. And we both rolled our eyes because he stopped at the door. I'm like, what, Asher? What are you doing, bud? And he didn't answer. And I was like, so I walk around because we had the big couch. So I walk around, and as I clear the couch to get on the wood to go to the downstairs door, I could feel it. Like I knew he wasn't going to be there. I was like, and then I look and he's not there. And I look up at Stevie, and she like sprung up just like a straight and like shot across the room. She was like, don't, thinking I was scaring her. And I'm like, it's okay. And inside I'm like, oh my God. So I start like going down the stairs, and I can feel it so thick, but I'm telling my son when I get in his room, he's going to be awake because somehow he managed to scurry back down the stairs without making a sound and jump in his bed. And I know when I open the door, I'm going to be able to tell that he was awake. I make it down, open his door, and he's out. He's asleep. And so like finally had won the fight. You know, he was in his own bed. And then I'm like, come on, Ash, you're going to come sleep with Mom tonight. So he wasn't leaving him downstairs. So we all like went upstairs. He slept and Stevie and I were like awake forever. That one got us bad. It was just the perfect timing. And it was so loud and so obvious. It was just too much, that one. It was just too much. And we were like,
Do you think that was just him again? Not meaning...
like his energy?
Yeah.
Could have been.
Other dimension. Asher
now I have that
was coming
awareness. It
upstairs.
totally could have been.
Right.
He's like, I got you, Asher. Mom's going to come get you tonight.
The idea that we just are bumping into different dimensions and different realities all the time is so fascinating. So fascinating.
Yeah.
I wish we had the ability to prove it.
Yeah.
I don't need the proof for the belief. But
I don't know if I'll...
you sip.
I was supposed to bring warm water. I did not plan
You
it.
can go grab it if you'd like.
I might. We'll see. Hopefully. We're still trying to kick this
Yeah.
goddamn thing. So sorry for my coughing.
Yeah, we have been a month, 3 weeks.
It's 3 weeks now.
Yeah. We're finally getting better though. After some antibiotics.
Can't you hear?
Finally a visit to the doctor
Yeah.
/ Zoom call.
Sorry. I have cough drops. I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, like that idea that we're just literally not even bumping into, but existing at the same time as other dimensions.
Yeah.
I think that is far, I don't need to explain away ghosts. I believe that ghosts exist in a sense, right? I guess I believe that the whole idea of a belief. Here I go.
Here you go.
Here I go. Here we go.
Again.
Lately, I remember so much where I would take an idea and I would hold on to an idea and I'd mull it around for a while and it would either turn into a belief or I would let it go and pick up another idea, right?
Yeah.
And ideas that I resonate with strongly and over time and everything like that, they eventually change into beliefs, and beliefs are much more concrete things that I hold true.
And beliefs can turn into things that just get dismissed too.
I am now at the point where I don't believe anything.
You don't believe anything? That's where you are? Are you belief anarchist?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But the idea is that I don't believe anything concrete enough to say that it's for certain. Only because of the way that everything changes and evolves.
Yeah.
And so my belief today will be different tomorrow because I evolve, I change, my understanding of something changes and evolves. So it's foolish, I think, and foolish is maybe the wrong word, but for me personally, I'm like, I've got to let go. I want to let go of that idea of a belief.
Yeah.
And instead just resonate. And I guess it's a belief that I'm not letting go is that, energy is there and the universe and the connection. I guess that's a belief that I'm not letting go of.
So you still have beliefs?
Well, I'm also okay letting go of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay if that's wrong. I'm okay if that's, like, if it turns out we just go straight to heaven or hell, I'm okay with that. I don't need any one of these things to be true in order for me to be, like, happy and present and connected and enjoying my life.
Yeah.
It's enough for me to believe in the ever-changing evolution of everything. Hence, beliefs are kind of fluid things that change and evolve over time.
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
I like beliefs though.
I do too.
There's beliefs that I definitely don't like and then I'm happy to change, but I like beliefs. I like the feeling of that knowing and that connection and that pull, which is, also the opposite end of the spectrum of the beliefs that keep you fearful and hidden and stuck.
What if it's the same? What if the belief only keeps you stuck, but we convince ourselves that it's this beautiful thing?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. So the rest of my thought.
Go ahead.
The rest of my thought was, I like that, but I no longer am like, nope, this is fact. I no longer hold on to beliefs as the end all be all say, like, nope, this is the way it is. I had beliefs like that I'm like, this is it. And those have changed so many times. I don't know any belief like I think all of my beliefs have changed. And so I allow them to change, and I don't like think this is it. I don't dig my heels in and this is fact. This is where it's at. I allow it to change. And there are beliefs that I'm like, I really hope this one changes.
Right.
So I allow the fluidity of it, but I also like the energy of a belief. Maybe that's just my...
what is the feeling associated with the energy of a belief? Because perhaps it's the feeling underneath that you like, not the actual energy
trust.
of a belief. It's trust.
Yeah, I think it's that feeling of that trust.
Does trust make you feel safe?
Yes. I like trust.
There we go. So it comes back down to the nervous system.
Probably.
A belief makes the nervous system calm.
Depends on the belief.
Right?
Sometimes there's like, I trust this is going to be all fucked up and go to shit, and I don't like that. I hope I'm wrong. That's not a cozy feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pardon while we breathe.
My cough's fine. I was listening to Brandy on Glennon Doyle's podcast.
Yeah.
So the podcast is, I think it's called We Can Do Hard Things. I think that's the name of her podcast.
Yeah. She's a goddamn cheetah.
She is a goddamn cheetah. I don't think I've ever listened. I may have listened to some of it or some of her episodes before, but it's not one that I listen to regularly.
Yeah.
But I do follow her on social. And when I saw that Brandy was going to be on, I got very excited.
Yeah.
And so far it's good.
Yeah.
But almost immediately something came up that I found very interesting.
What is that?
They were having a conversation about, definitely just go listen to the episode. So then you're not trying to get Craig's take on it. But
tag us in the comments. Let them know you heard it here, folks.
Glennon was talking about how difficult it is for things to work between men and women, and how, I mean, she was kind of joking, but I think she was also serious about it in a sense where she's like, that's not the way things are supposed to work. Like heterosexual relationships are so hard and so difficult, and that's just not the way things are supposed to work. And she feels bad for all of her straight friends. And she was joking.
Okay.
But I think, and then she went on to say, because they went on to talk a little bit more, and she mentioned that she doesn't like, she basically doesn't like interacting and communicating with men. And then she clarified that she doesn't like communicating with like the version of masculinity that is man, in a sense, was basically what she was saying, right? Or at least my interpretation of what she was saying.
Okay.
So the way that I interpreted it was just that idea of how we present to each other, not just you and me, but society, right? So I present society as a man.
Yeah.
And that version of masculinity or of a man, Glennon Doyle doesn't like interacting with. And I get it. I don't like interacting with that version of men either.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a version of feminine, of women that I don't like interacting with. And so it got me really thinking about how we present in society. And I mean, we've talked a lot lately on the podcast about masculine and feminine, and it's a lot of what I'm looking at, analyzing, thinking about, and looking for new ways of thinking about all of it. Because, I mean, bless her heart, right? I know she was joking in a sense, but I also know that there's probably a part of her that thinks, you know, everybody's supposed to be gay.
This sucks.
Do you want to go grab your hot water? You might as well, so then you're not fighting it the whole episode.
But you're going to be... Okay, yeah.
I'm just going to keep rambling.
Okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
Sorry.
Like we said earlier, we have been fighting some sort of crazy sickness for weeks and weeks and weeks, and now it's just this lingering little scratch in the back of our throat. But if you're not familiar with Glennon Doyle, she's an author. She's written a couple of books. The most recent one was Untamed. And Stephanie absolutely loved that book. It had a lot of impact for her at the time. And I tried reading it, and I couldn't get through it. I really wanted to get through it. But not the writing, but I think it's just her like personality and things like that started to irritate me. And I was thinking about what she was saying earlier about how she doesn't like interacting with the version of man, or, you know, men in general, in a sense, that version of man that society sees and portrays. And I realized that that's what she was portraying. There's a version of feminine, like, energy, I guess, that she exudes that is hard for me to like interact and relate with. Now, granted, I'm not interacting or relating with Glennon Doyle at all. I'm just consuming media that she puts out. But it really got me thinking about how we show up to each other in the world, and then how we also interpret that, and then how we react. Because I'm sure she's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing person. And I'm sure that she knows plenty of men in her life that she feels the same, like, that are very wonderful and amazing. But the idea that we're going to eliminate, like, what I'm trying to do lately is all the things that I used to be, like, not turned off, but like the things that I didn't gravitate towards for whatever reason, especially if they came in conjunction with a judgment. I'm trying to look at those things again and see where the judgment's coming from. So like with Glennon Doyle, the judgment was, it was silly stuff. Like, it was stuff like, almost like, not too emotional, but it was like, she's really emotional. And that was hard for me to deal with, in a sense. I'm so glad you're back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're just so good.
I think I did fine for like 3 minutes, and then I felt super fucking stupid.
I get to rock my front of center Chris Fletcher mug.
Nice.
Pretty excited about that.
Shout out
If you
to Chris
haven't checked
Fletcher.
that out, go do so.
That was such a good episode. So
Give me a catch my breath. What did I miss?
You'll have to go back and listen.
Okay.
Definitely not going to repeat myself.
No, do I want to go? Like,
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not super profound. But
I'm ready.
the
I wanna listen now.
culmination of it was I realized that at some point along my journey with Glennon Doyle, I started to judge her and stopped listening to her and stopped paying attention to her.
Yeah, you were resonating with Abby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's okay.
What
It's
I
okay
think,
to outgrow somebody.
I don't think it's a matter of outgrowing anybody.
Yeah.
I think it ties into what she was talking about with Brandy, how she doesn't like men.
Oh, you don't like women?
It's not that I don't like women.
What do
It's that there's a version of women or woman.
Whoa, man.
There's a version of woman
Yeah.
that
I can't get to
it's not to say I don't like it, but that it is disrupting to me.
Okay.
And so I realized, listening to her, thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, that is definitely a place for growth.
Do you think it's a judgmental thing, or is it okay to not like some people, to not like jive with them and be like, you're cool over there, I'm going to be over here?
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I think that
Front of center.
I might realize that, you know, the more I pick apart this concept, that it's just a matter of like, yeah, I just don't really resonate with what she has to say, which is totally fine.
Could also be a judgy thing.
It's not, could be, it is.
It is a judgy thing.
Yeah. I talked earlier on the solo podcast when you were downstairs.
I missed that. I'm going to have to go back and listen.
That I stopped listening to her. I stopped reading her book because I was judging her.
Yeah.
And because, like, literally what I said was that she was too emotional. Right?
Whoa.
Right?
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
You're not even afraid of emotions.
I know.
That I would have
So subconscious.
lost that bet. I would have bet the house that would have been something that you would have never have said. I would have lost the house on that bet.
So subconsciously,
So I don't bet.
she triggered me.
Yeah.
And she triggered some part of me inside. And I think the same thing, that's what she was talking about. I mean, obviously, who knows what the fuck she's talking about, right? We're extrapolating 10 minutes of conversation over a 30-second blip in this podcast. But it just really stood out to me that I'm like, oh, why would you, like, what's the strong aversion to men? Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like,
Is it a lesbian?
there's a part of it that, you know, but
You like me.
the energy that, like, I know you can relate because you don't like men either. And
I
it's not to
definitely have
say-
some hesitation with some men.
right?
Yeah.
But if you think about
I
it,
got some man.
is it the individual? Yes, it can be at times. But I think it's also sometimes you don't see past what they're showing you. And oftentimes they're just showing you man, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to see past that.
I recognize mine as trauma.
Right?
Yeah. It's not like I'm just like, oh, they're just all crap. I'm like, I have some trauma and I don't trust.
Same here.
Yeah.
So can you see that play out
I
with
can.
me? Where it's like, oh, I have some trauma involving women. So I don't trust them.
Are you okay? I'm right or wrong. That's where I'm at. And I'm not going to push myself like, no, you're not getting what I'm saying. I think it's definitely room for growth, but I think it's also okay to not beat yourself up over not feeling safe in certain areas. You're not saying like, you don't think they should speak. You don't think, maybe you are. Keep talking. Maybe I'm seeing the best of you and maybe that's not what's happening. Am I being too emotional right now?
You're getting a little emotional, so we're going to bring it, dial it down a little bit. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't speak, right? Obviously, I think Glennon is an amazing person.
See?
And I think she's doing a wonderful job. And she's also human, right? And as am I. And I think that I'm just saying, like, we have to look past the version that people represent or the way that they show up to us.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it with everybody. And it's not like the thing where you have to like everybody. Like if somebody's an asshole or if you just don't really like somebody, that's totally fine. That's not what I'm saying. However, I don't think it hurts to look at it and say, why?
Yeah.
Why is this person triggering me? Is it something that's masculine, feminine? Is it something directly about the individual? Do you know what I mean? What is the reason why the trigger is coming up?
I'm like looking at my my man aversion, but like I like men. Like there's a lot of men that I like.
I agreed.
I just also don't like all the men that basically, you know, that are in our lives. I know like a few that you don't. I believe are not a threat. I still am not putting myself in situations where they could be threatening. And that's not to say for anybody that's in that, you're like, I'm not saying women put themselves, like, don't hear that. I'm talking about how I'm extra, I would say cautious, but it's extra fearful, really.
Sensitive to it.
I'm nervous. Like it takes, it's definitely something that I always have my guard up with. I always have my guard up and I'm always like paying attention to the situation. I'm always reading the situation. I'm reading their energy, how they feel. I'm, if I happen to be on a one-on-one environment, I'm making sure it's like it's perceived power, but like I have the power in that space. But I'm also aware that that can change on a dime, like that's just a perception. And that the moment that they wanted to take the power, they could. So I'm watching. I'm always watching. And I don't.
You don't do that with women?
I don't put myself in those situations. I don't do that with women. I have a different energy with women. It's, yeah, no. There's definitely some biasm there.
Yeah.
But I can see the greatness of men and I can see wonderful people. Like we could start naming them off right now of who I know are good men, good people, good persons, good energies to have in the world. And there's just so much trauma that I'm still not going to say, hey friend,
right.
You and I can jump in the car together and go down to the store. Or like, I'm like, I will wait while I try. That's my shit though.
Right.
I'm not saying that's acceptable. And I'm not saying I know.
It's not unacceptable either.
It's not. That's also my point. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
If that's where I'm at and that's where I'm at in my healing and I don't feel safe in those spaces, if that's where you are at and that's where you're at in your healing and you don't feel safe in those spaces, that's okay. Now, if I'm attacking every man and being like, you're a man, you're a piece of crap, you're nothing but a woman hater, all of these labels that I could be given just because of that.
Yeah.
That would be a different thing. But to say you don't, I don't know. I didn't hear it. So I also shouldn't be speaking to it. I didn't hear the podcast.
Yeah, you heard my interpretation.
I heard your interpretation. I heard a man's interpretation.
I know. A man's interpretation of a conversation between two lesbians.
Yeah.
On Glennon Doyle's podcast. Yeah.
So who knows?
Tune in here if you want more of my take on. We'll be reviewing every episode of Glennon's podcast.
I'm gonna go listen before I speak anymore.
Right, we're gonna do another podcast, a sub podcast where we just review Glennon's podcast.
But I'm not gonna review it. I'm just gonna give my interpretations based off of your replay,
from the
your recounting of it, the mansplaining of it. I'm sure it's gonna be accurate.
There is a bigger conversation taking place in my head in regards to masculine and feminine.
Okay.
And all of this is playing into it. I'm thinking about right now, like present day in society, we're still struggling back and forth with masculine and feminine.
It's beyond masculine and feminine. Is why does it have to only be masculine and feminine too? Because it's more than masculine and feminine.
I don't think it is. I understand that gender is a spectrum. In my mind, this has nothing to do with gender. Okay, this has nothing to do with gender. This has nothing to do with sexual identity. This has to do with balance, and this has to do with bringing equilibrium back to kind of the state of the world.
Okay.
And I think we just use these labels, masculine and feminine, to describe energies, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. And the purpose and the goal of this experience, meaning like the dimension that we call Earth, and here we are, I think in some ways, right, is to balance the energy.
Is it to embody both?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's to really embody and embrace and incorporate the masculine and feminine into the individual.
It's whatever it is for you.
I don't think it has to do with, I don't think it's anything.
Well, it's like there's different levels, like wherever, however it fits, however it blends, however.
Yeah, but like I was saying, it's so much bigger than just masculine and feminine in my mind.
I think so too.
That's just the really like oversimplified explanation for this greater thing that's at play.
Agreed.
And I think it is it's kind of what we were learning about in regards to astrology earlier, and the way that what's happening in the spin of the planets on this big universal scale is just a representation of, the micro, what's happening here in regards to even just me individually and what I'm going through, and how they mirror each other in that process. And so I think the process of trying to balance masculine and feminine is the mirroring of balance that's taking place out there in the solar.
Give me my pen back.
You play with it so much.
I do.
I'll give it to you if you don't play with it.
Give me.
Don't play with my pen.
All right, you can have mine all you want. This one's got a fun loopy loop. I like this one better, actually.
Give me my pen.
Oh, no. I'll give it to you if you don't play with it.
Okay, I don't play with my pens. I use them for writing. I play with my cards. Would you like to play with my cards?
Can I draw on them?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a bigger concept, and it's one that I'm trying to wrap my brain around and grasp. And the way that it's like playing out just in the real simplified version of, for me, is this battle, but it's not even a battle, but it's the balance back and forth between masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to separate from the idea that this is a feminine trait and or quality.
Okay.
And this is a masculine trait and or quality. And instead just look at it as human qualities and or traits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the goal of the human experience is to balance energy.
Okay.
And so the way that the energy is labeled by us is masculine and feminine, but it's really not masculine and feminine. It's just two.
Okay.
So there's a lesson. This is all just my brain
Craigisms.
Stuff, right?
I like Craigisms.
Obviously, I started the podcast with saying I don't have any beliefs. So
is this your belief?
This is just
this is a non-belief belief.
Take this
wink,
for
wink.
whatever
Fingers
it is, right?
crossed.
But I think it's the balancing of two things. So I think that might be a part of this experience on this dimension, in this realm, in this place.
Yeah.
Is it's like, here's two things. They look very similar to one another. They act and react and respond and play and kind of oh, look, they even turned out to be 2 5s.
That's crazy.
Right?
Was that magic?
That was magic. But we have to learn how to hold both of these things at the same time.
Okay.
And we have to learn how to be able to not let one outweigh the other. So when we label these things, when we label these energies as masculine and feminine, obviously we're way too masculine. There's been too much masculine energy on this planet for far too long. Okay? So the balance needs to be bringing up the feminine. I don't think it's a matter of lessening the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a matter of raising
the feminine. Yeah.
But once again, if we separate from masculine and feminine,
Mm-hmm.
then we're just balancing two energies. That's it.
Okay.
So it's the scale, it's the teeter-totter, it's every, simile and metaphor and example that you can think of where you're just trying to balance two things and find that happy place. And it's temporary, right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we bring up the feminine, we may just spend another 1,000 years with too much feminine energy, right? And then we're going to have to balance it again and bring up the masculine energy. So the lesson, I think, and the important lesson is there doesn't need to be this massive push to swing the pendulum to the other end.
You don't think so?
Because then we're just playing the game back and forth.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes that momentum.
It doesn't, though.
Yeah. I think right now we need some momentum. Maybe the pendulum swinging from extremes is what is needed to correct.
So in Craig's thought experiment that we're talking about right now, separate from masculine and feminine.
I didn't say masculine or feminine.
Think about it.
I said pendulum.
Think about it as we're just trying to balance things on a scale. And if you've got a small little scale,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you're trying to balance and it's way too heavy,
I don't remember you having any planets in Libra. But apparently you do.
are you going to take all that is over here and put it here so then you can just flip it?
No.
You're going to do it a little by little until they balance each other back out, right?
So my brain that is like is
Poking
like
the bear.
they're just afraid because they see women rising and like, hold up now, we don't need to swing that pendulum too far, ladies. Just like a nice happy medium.
That frightens me in the sense of has nothing to do with women being in power. Or
That's my perspective.
Yeah.
I realize it's flawed, and I'm also thinking, are you afraid?
I'm only afraid at the concept because of how obviously things don't do well when they're out of balance.
Yeah.
And so I believe, even though I don't have a belief anymore of anything,
But-
I have a fake belief that's changing.
Why are you so afraid of beliefs? Are you afraid you're going to get stuck in a belief? Are you afraid it's a trap?
It's not a fear.
Yeah.
It's not a fear. I don't have
Can
a
you
fear
trust
of
your
beliefs.
beliefs?
This has nothing to do with lack of trust.
Yeah.
This just has to do with, for me, the acceptance of everything changes.
Can everything change and still be something?
Yeah.
Still be a belief?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because every time there's a belief, you're like, nope, no beliefs.
Yeah, because I'm working on changing and evolving, and I'm working on shifting the things that I thought were beliefs that I
Yeah.
see are so wrong.
Yeah, that's allowing it to change.
That's what I'm doing.
I guess I don't understand why it has to be such a strong aversion to, like, why it has to be a, nope, no beliefs here. Nope.
That's my reminder. That's the way that I like keep the thought going so that I continually look at it. Because it's like, oh, wait a minute, correction. Nope, no beliefs. I don't believe in things. And it's that I don't have a problem with not believing in things.
I know
though.
you don't.
Like, that doesn't scare
That feels
me.
like such, for me, the way you're displaying it, it feels like such an avoidance, like such a detachment. It feels like an extreme detachment from, like, there's too much pain here. And so, like, it feels like a pendulum swing on the complete other side. And it doesn't feel like a reminder. Now, who knows, right? This is just my perspective. I could be projecting all over you right now. But it
Please
really,
I could use some good stuff. Projection.
It feels like just a detachment and complete fear. Like I don't know. I encourage you to be willing to allow everything to change as you are, but also look at why it's such an extreme avoidance and why you were like, no beliefs. It's like, I'm not going to be attached to anything. I'm not even attached to not being attached.
You know, when you're trying to change something,
Yeah.
and you have to keep reminding yourself, and sometimes you're reminding yourself in a from the outside that might seem kind of forceful and hard on yourself.
Yeah.
But really all you're trying to do is like, oh yeah, keep remembering that thing.
You get to do it however you want. I was just giving you a perspective to be curious about. It's up to you if you look at it or not, or if you need to. You're not doing anything wrong. You get to have no beliefs.
And obviously I have beliefs.
We can burn beliefs to the ground if you need to.
Obviously
I'll light them with the candle.
Obviously I have beliefs.
And you're not trapped and you're not stuck and you're not silly, and it's okay if they're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Glennon Doyle needs to fight me. I've decided that's the only way this is going to get solved.
You and Glennon?
That's the only way. We're going to have to fight. Straight up gladiator style.
I don't.
I'm calling her out.
Okay.
We're going to pick a date. She gets to choose the weapon.
She's going to choose.
Just to be clear, I'm not fighting Glennon Doyle, nor do I want to.
Okay. I'm like that.
I am joking. It's a great joke.
It was a great joke. I got nervous. I'm like, oh, you can't say that. I did. I started like trying to iron my paper. I'm like, we're going to get things okay over here.
You're cute.
You're cute.
It's going to be coming up a lot for me.
Yeah.
I've started to I've done little things. You brought an awareness the other day when we were at Walmart, how you're practicing not moving out of the way for me.
And I still fucking keep doing it.
Right.
I'm trying to practice, but I still get out of the way.
And so now I've started to look at how I don't move out of the way for women.
I noticed today when you made it a point, because I got out of your way when we were walking and you like stopped and allowed me to go.
Yeah.
And I seized it. I jumped in and was like, I went. Go ahead and went first and was like, thank you. So I saw you practice that. I recognized it.
Yeah, I did it at the store today.
Yeah.
Where I cut a woman off. And then I realized I did that. And then I specifically stopped and stood over to the side so that she could pass.
That's what we're talking about. Is I saw a thing in one of these groups I'm in where a woman was experimenting with just noticing how much she always gets out of the way. Like women, when a man's walking, just think of a supermarket. You're walking toward each other. Men keep walking straight and women divert. They move. They get out of the way. And she just started having awareness of that and just seeing it repeat with so many people, and then decided herself that she was going to stop and just held straight and was actually bumping into men because they just kept waiting for her to move. And she was like, nope. And just that awareness of how much men, at least wherever she was, not saying this doesn't like sum men up as a whole and women up as a whole. This is one woman's experiment that she did, that it was talked about, that has piqued my curiosity in myself. I have no idea how far it goes beyond that. So I decided I was going to try that, and I forget, and I don't catch it till after I've darted out of the way. And so I'm having awareness of how much I scoosh out of the way, and how much I see women stop and wait to move. And so they're doing that even with each other. You'll see two women ooh, you, it's okay, go, until they can make it work. So I'm seeing it happen. But I haven't been able to hold my ground yet and see if the man will move, because I didn't realize how ingrained it was that I move out of the way. And now I'm kind of getting ready to play chicken with shopping carts. I'm like, no, but I haven't been able to catch it ahead of time yet. It's always after the fact. But when you did it for me, when you stopped and allowed me to go, it registered then. I still couldn't catch it before, but it registered after. So it's awareness. So get curious. How does it happen? Do you notice yourself getting out of the way? Men, do you notice women? Do you just expect women to move? And what happens if you're nice or I don't know what verbiage. It's an experiment. Go experiment. There's room for everybody to walk.
Yeah, it's so confusing though, right? Because I thought about it. I did do it consciously when you and I were on our walk today. And I thought, and
thank you.
Well, it's so funny, babe, because we walk the same walk, meaning sometimes we go on the same
Little
loop, right? We've got the same little stroll that we take. And this one specific spot, this tree is way overgrown across the sidewalk. And in order to continue on the sidewalk, you have to kind of go around the tree. It's a pain in the butt. And like 2 days ago or 3 days ago or whatever, we went through the same spot and I went first. Mm-hmm. And then this day, today, I stopped. And I thought about it from the perspective of like we hold doors open for women.
Yeah, but you're talking about going in the same way.
I know, but hold on. This is my thought process.
Okay.
Because it's like, that's a sign of
chivalry
and respect and honor and all these other things that men have.
Women also hold open doors for people.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's funny how we make the simplest act that should be human into some chivalrous thing that makes that means that the man is so like, so for example,
I like it. I'm like, maybe I need to turn in my woman card. What's the woman box? But I think
this is my thought just in regards to this silliness of opening doors and or letting women go first. Right.
Okay.
It's not to say it's a silly thing. But.
To clarify though, I was talking about coming from opposite ends, like the woman going one way, the man going the other, however, but whatever binary for the purpose of this conversation, I'm saying man and woman. I realize there's more than that, but for the purpose of this, it is that coming through that the man is more commonly holding their path, acknowledging or not acknowledging the woman, however, and the woman has to move out of the way. Yeah. Or when they pawn, like, oh, go right ahead, and they kind of make it creepy. Like that happens too. And then it's like, oh.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. Now we can go on to the holding door chivalry thing. I just want to make sure that what I was explaining was understood.
I think it was clear. I'm just extrapolating on it further because it really has me thinking. It has me thinking about how we subconsciously move through the world. Because in the example we're talking about when we're walking on the sidewalk, often I will go in front of you from this like protector space.
The protector man box.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, there's no danger on the sidewalk in our neighborhood.
Well, I've watched you trip.
The tree's not going to attack us, right? We're not in the Princess Bride trying to go through the fire swamp.
There's some dangerous branches that are like right at your eye. There was that one where I'm like, that's going to hurt a kid.
There's that aspect
We need some protectors out there.
But there's also the subconscious part of me that is protecting you and going first.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, how do we bounce? Because we talked about this on an earlier episode where we were talking about the man box and the idea that men have to be protectors, right?
Mm-hmm. Women are also protectors.
Well, that's the whole thing is like you, and I mean, I'm pointing at you because you and I are having this conversation and stuff like that, but like, how do you, I guess this is a question for you, babe. How do you bounce that thing of like, you want to be independent, you want to be, what, like, are you, like, fuck. This is kind of a hard question and I don't want to upset you.
Yeah, I'm curious how you're going to spin this. I'm definitely paying attention.
Like, do you want, like, really think about this question.
Okay.
Not just from the surface of like, yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I'm going to cool my jets.
Think about what it would look like if I was no longer your protector.
I have thought about that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about our relationship ends and I'm no longer around. I'm just talking about it from the perspective of like if there's danger, I'm not stepping in front of you and going first. It's going to be up to you to do that.
Yeah.
While I stand there and do nothing.
Okay. Do you think that if there was danger that my first reaction would be to cower behind you?
I think it depends on the type of danger.
True. It depends on the type of danger. Okay, that's fact. It depends on the type of danger because I can think of one person particularly that I would absolutely get behind you and I would be like, help.
Yeah. Are you willing to give that up? That's the thing, right?
If it's to protect you, if like all of a sudden something happened like and took you down and you couldn't protect, fuck yeah, I'm willing to give that up. I will take that on.
But what about from just the conscious place of like,
if it's just you're on your own, babe?
It's not, what I'm talking about is from like this deeper perspective of like, if I need to evolve as a man and balance myself out from toxic masculinity,
okay,
then maybe I have to set protector down for a while. It's not to say forever, and it's not to say I can't be a protector, but it's to say that in order for you to be able to step up into quote unquote protector energy.
I feel like I have protector energy.
I know you do. This isn't, hold on, let me stick with this for a minute.
Okay, I thought you explained it. I thought you wanted my answer.
Maybe I haven't yet.
Okay.
This isn't saying you don't have protector energy.
Okay.
Right? You very, very much do.
Uh-huh.
This isn't, I'm just thought experimenting this thing of like, if I set that down, what does that then in turn look like for you?
Okay. So my understanding, just to make sure I have it clear so it doesn't go again.
Clear communication, folks.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say
Another
is
15
that
minutes of us trying to get this fucking
you wanted me to be
question
quiet
figured
while
out.
you were talking. What I'm hearing you say is that if that was like something that you wanted to break outside of, so that was something that you were consciously going to decide was not your role. And maybe it was forever, maybe it wasn't, but at least like I don't have any beliefs right now. It's so easy to keep talking to you that. I don't have any beliefs right now. You're like, I am not the protector. Am I willing to pick that up? Yes. Because I also have that context of working with that and knowing that you were trying to challenge agreements in your life, and you were getting curious about yourself, and you're looking for ways that you can grow and find out what's true for you. Absolutely. And if that became an ever thing, I honestly don't know if it was an ever, like a forever thing. Because there's part of me that's like, I feel guilty that I do like that you are so protecting. And that's something that needs to heal with me. You know, I have, there was so much danger in my life, my whole life. And then that danger was no longer a thing when you came around. It's like, I feel like I'm sorry that I'm really happy that you were a protector. I'm not sorry. I'm really happy that you were a protector. I'm really happy and grateful that that was something that you picked up, because that was something, you know, maybe I could have done it without you too, because I was still the one making the decisions. You didn't grab me and say, you are making these decisions. I made the decisions, and I leaned on you for support. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you're a protector. I'm grateful. We needed that. Again, maybe I could have done it without you, but I'm super grateful that we didn't have to. And maybe I couldn't have. So if you want to put the protector down, I support you completely. And I am more than fine to step into that role. I do it anyways. Don't get mad when I do it the way that you don't agree with. If I go on Negan and grab Lucille and start like, you know, coming around, like I do it how I do it. But I am totally okay with that. I can say that with confidence. And I can admit with humility, I don't know if that was something that you said, I'm never going to protect you again. Not being able to protect, I am fine with. But choosing to say, I'm never going to protect you, I'm like, well, all right, dude. I'm going to make some adjustments in my life, and I don't know what it'll look like. So I don't know. I don't know.
You realize that's not what I'm saying, right?
I realize that. But also, you get to say that. You get to put that down. You absolutely get to put that down. And I have to figure out what my role is, what that means for me. That's going to cause me to do some deep diving and look at, because my pattern was I was looking for protectors, but I didn't know how to find healthy protectors. I knew how to find the next scary one, in a really, really unhealthy. So I had a really unhealthy dynamic that played out. I just happened to get it right this time. And somebody that was healthy and kind and safe and used their intellect. And you didn't have to get aggressive. You never had to be a protector. You were able to just be a protector. So maybe you should. Maybe you should put it down. Maybe that's something that I need to strengthen. Seriously, this is something to think about.
I am thinking about it. And I'm realizing now as we're talking about it, that what I'm doing, once again, I'm looking at a binary issue.
Right.
I'm looking at two. And in this context of what we're talking about is a protector mode, right? Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it as something that I have to set down because it's not healthy from this overly masculine perspective. But the alternative isn't setting it down, it's just balancing it. So then it's like, what does a protector look like when they're balanced? What does a protector look like when it doesn't have to use violence or the threat of a violence or the implied, like, I can threaten violence
without threatening violence,
without saying a word. I can shift my body language, and immediately anybody that comes into contact with me knows if I poke that, I'm going to get fucked up.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah.
We've been just walking down the street because like there's so much that you have turned on as a woman. You like are paying attention to your surrounding. You're paying attention to the corners. You are aware when you are doing anything. Unless you're walking with you. When you're walking with a protector, I remember just like walking and being like, la, 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 la. And then I noticed you change. And then that's when I was like, because then I knew the situation had changed. I knew there was something, and it was like, I could feel it. And I didn't go into, what are we doing? I was like, suction cupped to you. I'm like, there's a threat.
Right.
And I followed your lead.
So it's like that dynamic. Like, how do we protect in a balanced way? I'm not going to say masculine and feminine, even though that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? There's a toxic masculine way to protect.
Yes, but I haven't seen you do that.
I'm
not saying you haven't done that.
Because it's silly for me to sit here. I used to sit here and think that I didn't do these things, right? That I wasn't some toxic masculine guy but the fact is I have all of these subconscious programmings, all of this stuff that I have been exposed to my entire life. And it's so naive and foolish of me to think that I don't do these things. So I have protected in toxic masculine ways.
I'm sure you have.
And there is a balanced way to protect, or to quote unquote be a protector. And that's what I want to discover.
Okay.
I want to discover how to do it in a balanced way that makes everybody feel safe and isn't to the extreme one side or the other. Right? Women have it. Like
I know.
The joke of Mama Bear and, don't get between
not a joke.
Mama Bear and her cubs, right? So women have that very strong, what we would classically label as aggressive, dominant, violent, masculine energy that they can embody.
Very much.
And protect with. And I dare say that there is times when it's needed.
There is.
However, I think those times are so few and far in between that the reality is maybe we don't really need those anymore.
Maybe. I'm definitely...
Think about it this way. So I got rid of all the guns.
Yes.
Right? When law enforcement ended and that period of my life was over, I think subconsciously I just got rid of violence.
Yeah. I remember that.
I thought to myself, I'm not going to need these anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
even
wanna
right now,
carry
I'm like,
these
what the
anymore.
fuck is wrong with you? Why are you announcing that?
Right?
Like right now, you have made me feel unsafe. And now I'm like, yeah, he may have turned into a teddy bear, but bitches be crazy. Okay, don't like.
But I realized I didn't.
That makes me feel unsafe, and like I'm almost getting angry at you.
Right.
Like I will take, like you are my protector. You are a protector. But if I feel like you're putting me or my family in danger, I will take you on.
Yeah.
And that's what that came up right there. I'm like,
so what is that thing? Like what is
it's probably fucking trauma.
It's definitely trauma. It's definitely the subconscious programming that you've had.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've had subconscious programming as a woman in relation to masculine things.
Very
and it's
much.
like, I just want to unravel all of that. And I no longer want to
Maybe you need to put it down.
put down the protector.
Yeah, maybe
I
you
think
need
I
to.
have.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing, is like, there's times where I don't do, can you
I
put
like
your
my
fucking-
pin.
You got to
you know
find you
what?
something that doesn't make noise.
This isn't making noise.
You don't think it does, but you don't edit these episodes.
Fine.
So week after week, I hear your fucking
Are you serious? Because like you've sat here with your cards and I've watched you shuffle away your nerves the whole time, and you're going to tell me that somehow your cards you don't pick up?
Play away there, babe. I very much play with my cards, and they very much make noise on the podcast.
Hear that shit, don't you?
Yeah. So I obviously don't do that.
Yeah. I know, it's proven a point. I'm agitated.
I think I have put down, because there's times, I'm trying to think of an example, but it's hard. But I know that there is quite a few times actually where I haven't responded the way that you thought I should, and it's upset you.
Yes.
And it's been in relation, like sometimes it's in regards to the kids. Sometimes we'll have a teacher or somebody in the life of our children that will upset our children or wrong our children in some way. And you're ready to, like,
I have, whatever you're going to say, I have done that on the house.
I mean,
there are times the kids have used that to their benefit. They're like, activate.
right? Activate Mama Bear, because she's going to go eat somebody's face and rip their head off.
I'm not actually violent.
You're not violent at
Yeah.
all. But you're very aggressive with your energy, and you're very forceful. And I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, in those situations, I don't do that.
I know. Sometimes it's like, all you do is go, okay. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
That's me protecting in a different way.
Yeah. That's what, like, we have differences on there. And there's how many times do I say, like, I want you to come because of the way that you communicate. Now, also, that's also because a lot of times I feel like you can just use your voice and they listen because you're a guy.
So are you willing to let go of that for me as well?
I feel like you have. Like, there's so much. There's
What I
so
mean
many
is,
times
like,
when I feel like you're so quiet that I feel like I can't rely on you and I have to step in. So I feel like I have let go of that. Like, I like it when you do it. I'm sorry, but there are so many times that I'm like, I've got the reins
Can't
here.
rely on me?
Because you protect in a different way, as you said. When you are quiet, and I think this is not the time to do nothing. Something needs to be done. We need to be an advocate. And I like the way you do it. And I like that they listen to you, because it takes me getting loud before they even address me. Because I sit there and talk and they're laughing, like the last one when we were trying to, the last meeting we had with Asher School.
I remember.
And they were laughing as I'm sitting there speaking and making jokes and not listening until I was like, this is my child. And I had to get mad. I'm like, this is not how. And then they started listening. But how long was I talking while they were just sitting there making jokes and dismissing me? Now, granted, I did a lot of talking, so you didn't have to. But there are times when I have to take the reins, and that's fine. So I'm fine doing it, because if I got to do it, I got to do it. I used to always have the reins. I handled everything. I handled finances. I handled school. I handled fucking everything. Everything. And it was so hard to share that with you. It was so hard because it was against the grain. I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And it took me a really long time. And then I learned, okay, I'm having a hard time breathing right now. So I can
Is it because of your cough, or you're just getting
It's
super
my
activated?
nerves. I'm super
Okay.
activated. So the things in the brain aren't firing. But also the way you do it when you do it is so much better. But if you won't do it, I'm going to do it.
What's better about it?
You don't lose your ability to speak when you're activated.
Yeah.
Your speech gets more articulate and thorough, and you are more connected. And me, I can't breathe, or I start crying because there's so much. So just like that left brain, right brain connection, it's your frontal cortex, it just shuts off. I go into trauma response. Not all the time. There are times that I don't. But like right now, I'm activated and I'm having a hard time speaking. And so you're too emotional, woman. Like I said, you get dismissed. So get emotional and get dismissed. They don't think they have to listen anymore because now they've got a reaction.
My trauma response is to slow down and get quieter and more articulate.
I'm sorry, that's a trauma response, but I wish I had that kind of a trauma response instead of
I wish we
this
didn't
one.
have any trauma responses.
Well, wouldn't that be great? But since we do, I definitely feel like you've got the better of the two.
I realized at some point in this topic that we're picking apart, I was starting to do some of that devil's advocate stuff. And
I usually pick up on that.
well, the nice thing was I caught it before it started to get out of hand.
You think? Because I'm over here like not able to form words.
That's something that I also want to shift.
I'm okay with that.
I like having lively debates. I like
I don't like when you rile me just to get a reaction.
exactly.
Like that isn't fun for me.
Exactly. That's not fun for anybody. And the reason I do that is, once again, a trauma response.
Okay, I don't like that one.
So I recognized it, and let's shift up topics. We can actually be done if you'd like. Unless there was something else that comes up for you that you want to...
No, I mean, this isn't what I was going to talk about on this podcast. I was ready for a whole other conversation, but that's a whole other podcast. It doesn't fit at the tail end. Hey, did you have anything you want to add? Now's your chance. I saved 5 minutes for you. Oh, we can be done.
I didn't say 5 minutes for you. We were having a conversation. Mm-hmm. We just got lost in it is all.
Yeah.
You know how that happens on the podcast sometimes.
What am I going to do?
We need a new fidgeter for Steph.
What can, like, I'm so happy that I finally have a fidgeter, and now he's like, you can't use that.
Well, the problem is your fidget sometimes is like...
I'm a loud fidgeter.
On the fucking microphone.
I don't do that. I dropped it.
See, at
least I wasn't burning it this time.
There's a fucking reel where you're burning it, okay? So we definitely need to get you a new fidgeter.
You can give me a fidget spinner.
Can we get you one that's quiet?
Can you find one that's quiet?
Ding, 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 ding. If you've got great ideas for quiet fidget spinners for Steph, something that she can play with during the podcast, because
or throw.
It's like we're little kids at like, you know, when your parents used to take you to shit that they had to take you to, but they knew you were going to be really bored. So then they bring you like all your toys and a bag of Cheerios that you can play with underneath the chair.
My parents didn't do that.
Didn't they?
No, it was like, be quiet. I think I had Matchbox cars and crayons in my purse till like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I realized I really don't need to take these anymore.
Yeah, he's got his phone now. Plays with his phone. That's what you should do. Just fidget spinner with your phone during the episode. That'd be great.
Do you want me just to... Well, every time I go to get on my phone, you know, you have something to say about that too. Maybe you just need to quit micromanaging me.
You know, it's the mirror thing is all. That's all.
Ah. Are you driving you crazy?
Sometimes I drive myself crazy.
Yeah, and you're like looking at me, but it's...
I'm really embracing this mirror effect that you and I have for each other. And not looking at it as a detriment or looking at it as like a, God damn it, just as a fucking gift.
Yeah.
It's such a gift. You're such a beautiful mirror.
Right back at you.
You stand up in front of me and you do not waver and you hold and you're just like, look at this motherfucker. And I'm like, God damn, that's hard to look at, but I will look at that.
I can relate.
You do such a good job, baby.
So do you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. This is episode 289, which means, holy shit, we're going to be at episode 300 before we know it. That's going to be like fucking next month, maybe.
Yeah.
If we do the math right. That's cool. Episode 300 of the podcast coming up.
Naked podcast.
We did say we were going to do it naked.
We did a naked podcast. Well, it wasn't a podcast. It was a live. We did a naked live.
We did a naked Insta live. You can go find it on our Instagram. It was so naked, too. We were both completely nude. During the entire Instagram live. And maybe we'll do an episode completely nude.
I don't know if we can pull off the episode as well as we did the live.
My video editing is getting very good lately.
Yeah. You know what?
I could probably figure out how to put some bars over our tits.
This is where I'm going to help you practice in letting down that role of protector. And I'm going to say I'm not going to step into that space and count on.
You're not going to do the nude episode? What if I could 100% guarantee that no nudity would be seen?
That sounds like a belief, which you don't believe in. So, you're like, I believed. It needed to change.
Maybe episode 301 we'll do a nude episode. Well, I think we need to do some more nudity.
What if we just get like some emoji stickers? And so you don't have to worry
Just do
about it. I can
pasties.
just like...
That'd be so funny. You could just leave your hair down like it is now.
Yeah.
We both have long enough hair that we could cover our nipples with our hair.
You can show your nipples. Guys can show nipples.
Isn't that so stupid?
Girls can't show nipples.
How dumb is that?
It's pretty dumb. Like, we feed babies and our nipples are sinful. I don't think so.
It's just so silly. All of those things are so silly.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Free the nip. There's a whole movement. Free the nip.
Stop sexualizing women. Just stop. It's so silly. God, what do we say usually before we wrap? I don't know. Anything?
We had a few sign outs.
Sign offs over the year.
Yeah.
When in doubt, spread them out.
That was a fun
That's the way
one.
the cookie crumbles.
Thank you, Jim Carrey.
Thank you, Jim Carrey. Oh,
That was Jim Carrey.
I thought that was our sign off. Thank you, Jim Carrey.
No.
that's
Jim
the
Carrey
new-
said that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's the new sign off.
Thank you, Jim
For
Carrey.
As long as we can remember it.
Thank you, Jim Carrey.